Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, here to help you function at your best in health, fitness, and life. Here with my co-host, the wild one and only Haley Pindle, who just decided to join us today. I'm glad you finally showed up. You missed one episode and I just got to rag on you. Let's get fired up.
Let's get fired up, everybody.
We are so glad you're here today and that you've stuck it out with our shenanigans and our extremely valuable information. And today we have a guest on, Dr. Justine Luchini. Welcome. Do you like my senior last name?
Oh my gosh, it's like linguini.
It's I love it. Justine was actually on, so we have a long history. We go way back. We went to chiropractic college together. We were interns together. We worked out together. I missed our days of working out, by the way, like tons.
100%.
Oh man, we got to get back to that. But we just live too far apart now. And I'm pumped for you to share your story of how you've lived so many different places in the world. So we're going to get into that. Fun tidbit for you guys. Justine was on the podcast in season 1, episode 16. It's called The Business of Better Sleep. What? Yeah. So she is actually a returning guest. If you guys want to go back and listen to that one and get even more deets on her. But she is a chiropractor. We're always a chiropractor once we're a chiropractor, but not working in the field of chiropractic at this time. She is an entrepreneur. She is the co-founder of an amazing company called Thirdzy. We've got products right here. If you're on YouTube, we're going to tell you about them. She is a sleep expert, guys. Like you want to listen to this lady because you're going to sleep better after this episode. So welcome, Justine. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. That was honestly one of the best intros I've ever had.
Wow.
Can you just walk around being my hype person? That's awesome.
Thank you for that. I feel like I was kind of born to do intros. Like I've done like keynotes at events, and then I've been the MC, and I love being the MC because there's like not that pressure to be the most expert on the topic, but you just get to like hype everyone up and it's exciting. So I kind of feel like this is a version of that.
I can totally see that for you.
Like totally you're calling 100%.
Thanks. You guys are too kind. But we want to dive right into your story. And of course you gave us some details on the episode way back, but let's get a recap because you have had a journey of resiliency. You are very adaptable. You have lived many different places. You have worked in multiple careers and been successful in them. So give us a bit of a backstory, and then I have some really good questions for you. And I'm sure Haley will have some great ones too.
This is great. And it's, as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, I sound like a cat. Like I've had 9 lives, like I've had so many lives. And it's always just been this ongoing kind of commitment to myself of figuring out what is the path and the process that I enjoy living. And so that's kind of how we've ended up in a million different places. I lived and practiced in Peru when I was still a chiropractor. I lived in Portugal.
Sorry, because you didn't say this, because you were born in Canada, like you're Canadian.
Yes, I am Canadian. Yes, sorry, I'm Canadian. Grew up in Canada, went to school in Canada, started practicing in Canada. And then after a couple of years in practice, I had that thought of if I don't leave and travel and do some things now, I probably never will. Because I wasn't somebody who like took a gap year and went to Europe, or I had never really done anything except school and work. And so I took a contract for working for a chiropractor in Peru one day, almost kind of on a whim, because I didn't know what to do next. And then I just like went. And I think once you've done that kind of like massive thing where you sell all of your stuff and you leave the country and you just like go somewhere else. And once you've done it once, you realize you can do it again. That it's, as big and scary and hard as it sounds, it actually isn't that big and scary and hard. And I know Emily can probably attest that, like, you moved all the way across the continent pretty much to go from Toronto to northern Alberta, which is not that dissimilar of a move, really.
Middle of nowhere, baby.
100%. At least I was going to sunshine. And then
you went from Peru to where?
Peru to Portugal. Started a practice in Portugal with my partner at the time. And then I was there for almost 2 years, built a practice there that was doing pretty well, better than my relationship. And and then moved back from Portugal, left the practice. Like my partner continued to run it. He stayed there. I did not. Came back to Toronto, was practicing here before COVID, and had started to have the thought around doing something different because I had started to have some injuries, elbow, shoulder, wrist. I was just like having these like repetitive strain injuries as I was caring for people as a chiropractor. And really, I think started to burn out on solving those problems. And I think a lot of people can probably attest to that when you've been in a career path for a while. Like I've been in a chiropractor for almost 7 years at that point. And it is the problems in any situation that burn you out eventually, even when the upside is great. Like on days when being a chiropractor is good, it's really good. Like it's really good. You're helping people. Sometimes you're legitimately changing their lives. But I couldn't keep solving those problems anymore. Like it was taking too much of me on like a physical and emotional bandwidth. And so the practice that I was at was closing, and I decided that I wasn't going to start over again in a new practice, that I was going to take a break, a little hiatus. And fortunately, you know, I reached out to the College of Chiropractors in Ontario, who's a licensing body. And I said, what happens if I don't renew next year? And there's a 5-year grace period where you can take a step back. They obviously want you to keep paying them. You keep paying them. And then it was like,
be a doc, by the way, just in case
100%,
anyone doesn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone's thinking about going down that path, you do pay a lot to work as a chiropractor. You pay a lot to work. And so I just decided, and it was honestly way scarier changing my profession, living in the same place, than it was completely changing where I was living to work in the same profession, because of how much you sink into that. It's your identity too. Like Emily, you just said, like, oh, you know, you kind of always are a chiropractor, right? It's like, it's this whole persona, this whole life that you take on of like, this is not just what I do, it's who I am. And you've put, you know, years of your life.
Yeah. Ultimately, you keep adjusting. I was just going to say, because ultimately, like, even when you're not practicing, you keep adjusting your kids. You keep adjusting like family members, right? Like you never lose the skills. That's kind of what I was getting at. And your brain always thinks like that.
Your brain always thinks like that. I actually don't. I take my son to get adjusted by not me.
Oh,
and I know that probably sounds crazy. I know.
No, that's okay.
Well, before, because there was years. So I stopped practicing in 2019, and then he was born in 2024. So it had been like 5 years since I had adjusted a kid. And I just wanted him to get really good care.
Yeah, that's
and great. I was like, it doesn't make sense for me. I'm not doing this every day. I haven't adjusted a kid in 5 years. I'm like, it's like riding a bike, but it's also not. You know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah, that's
true.
I
just thought I'd rather have him get good care from somebody else than mediocre care from me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess I'm still in it a bit more than you, right? Because I still have a part-time license and I still fill in for John at the clinic, but I'm not doing it like full-time, but still, yeah. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so then I stopped practicing. And a lot of people, so at that point, I was really surprised with the number of people who kind of like, because I at some point kind of like announced it on my social media. I wasn't like, here ye, I'm not a chiropractor anymore, but had started posting about like different things that I was doing in my life. And I had a number of people, you know, privately message me and say like, how did you do this? Because one of the challenging things about being in a profession that takes a lot to get into, right? Whether it's chiropractic or dentistry, being a doctor, a lawyer, a physical therapist, finance, like whatever the path is, once you've put so much of your time and yourself into that path, it's really hard to get off it, right? We have that almost like sunk cost fallacy of like, well, I've come this far. And so taking a different road seems really hard. It can seem, I think, for a lot of people almost impossible. And Emily, you probably had similar experience with, you know, starting your business. I'm sure a lot of people have reached out to you and been like, so tell me about that. How do I do that? How do I not do this thing anymore? That is the only thing I'm qualified for. And that, how do I still make money and wake up every day and be proud of myself?
Yeah. And it's amazing when you kind of have inspiration that you can draw from others. Because think about, right, in the beginning, like the name Frexy for my company, Frexy, I bounced off you and I was like, oh, my name. And what about this name? And how do I pick a name? Which is just kind of funny. Like we were messaging back and forth. Remember way back?
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. So
totally.
that it's what you're saying, right? It's like, okay, you're demonstrating it's okay to make a change. It's okay to try something new and different, even though it's scary. There's a lot of uncertainty, right? And that was kind of you and your next step into launching Thirdzy, right?
Yeah, I also feel like people are like these women, they don't have these fearful feelings. They're just like they just think you're a different breed and you can just go and quit your chiropractic job and like they're like, how do you do this? What's the magic pill? But it's really like you do it regardless of if you feel fear, because everyone's going to.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. 100%. You're still just taking life in the face.
Yeah.
You still, even this far into Thirdzy, so I'm 5 years ish into my current business, and like, things are going pretty well. You know, we're paying the bills, and it's continuing to grow. You still feel like you're making everything up as you go along every day. And that's one thing that's been interesting as I've gotten further down this path, as I've met business owners who are way more successful than me, as I've spent time with my husband, who used to be an investment banker and work on these massive deals. So he worked for TD Bank, and they used to do deals for like $500 million and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, everybody's just always making it up. Everybody sitting at the table is just making it up all the time. Nobody knows what they're doing. It's crazy. We think somehow that people who are more experienced than us or have accomplished something more than us or are in a big organization somehow have it more figured out. Eventually you come to a point of realizing nobody has it figured out. It's all made up.
Yeah. And there's different levels. I feel like
let's get right into the conspiracy theories too, guys.
I feel like you get to a level though, like everyone is at a certain level and everyone's just trying to get to the next one. So we're just making it up, getting to that next level, because like you don't know the path because you haven't gotten there. But regardless of what level that is, like what scale, because these investment bankers, there's on a bigger scale than like what someone else is, but they're still like trying to get to that next level.
You're basically Mario, Haley.
It's true in Mario Kart, and you're like just trying to get those little question mark, little ding, kind of things, you know? And throw the little shell at Bowser, and away you go. Now you won.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, right?
Hopefully.
Depends on how many sales you make.
I don't know.
Yeah, depends how you define winning.
So then, okay, so this is interesting. I like that you've shared your story through like some of the feelings you had and some of the adventures that you've been on. So where are you now? So let's just get back to like, where do you live now?
So now we don't really have a fixed address. So my husband left his investment banking job at the end of 2023, and we were living in Toronto, and we packed up all of our stuff because it was really his job that was keeping us here. I mean, we have friends and family here, so our ties to Canada will always exist in terms of like our emotional, social bonds to Canada. But there was a lot that was drawing us away from Canada. Just feelings around everything, how COVID had been handled, political situations, just the environment in general. There was a lot of things that we were like, we don't necessarily want to stay here doing this in terms of our day-to-day life. We'd like to pick different problems. And so we packed up our stuff, and I was 8 months pregnant.
It was like near the end of your pregnancy, right?
Near the end of my pregnancy.
Little baby boy.
Yeah, he's the best. And we went to Mexico, and I had my baby in Mexico. And we spent 5 months there. And my husband and I now have permanent residency in Mexico. And then we traveled around quite a bit for the rest of last year, some in the United States. We spent some time in Canada. And then we went back to Mexico for 4 months. And now we're in Toronto. We're renting a place for a couple months this summer. And then we're going to go to Europe for a few months in the fall.
And you just work from wherever you are, right?
We just work from wherever we are. We're the way that our business runs, we have, we sell a physical product, like our Thirdzy is a sleep supplement that helps people sleep better without melatonin. And we fulfill within Canada and the US, but we have warehousing partners. So we don't have to physically put the product in the mail. And because we don't have to physically put the product in the mail, we can kind of be wherever we want to be running our business.
Yeah, that's so cool. So, okay, since we've gone to the point of what Thirdzy is and where you're at now, give us a quick synopsis on like what makes your approach to sleep. Like, I know, you could even tell a little bit about why you picked to get into sleep supplementation, but and then what makes your approach to sleep and your supplement different from the usual, like just take melatonin advice, because you alluded to that. And then how can women use it to support their long-term health?
Cool. I almost want to like flip these backwards because it really starts with the idea of long-term health. So when I was in practice, I came to realize that like everybody had sleep issues on our intake form. So it was one of the questions we asked, and almost every single person, whether they were coming in for wellness checkups or whether they had acute pain, was like they rated their sleep as not being good. And so it had been several years that I had been, percolating this idea of how do you help people sleep better? Because people would often ask me, well, how do I sleep better? What can I take? Is it okay that I'm taking melatonin? Is it okay that I'm giving my kid melatonin? And the safety profile of melatonin is interesting insofar as there are not like clinically adverse events associated with melatonin, right? It's not going to make you sick. It's not going to kill your kidneys. It's not going to there's no like overdose risk with melatonin. The challenge with taking melatonin is that it's a hormone, and all of your hormones play together, and all of your hormones work in feedback loops. So you have sensors essentially within your body. So when certain hormones go up, your body will then suppress the making of that hormone because it's elevated, right? It's why if you use birth control as a woman, your body struggles to keep up with making your female sex hormones. It's why if you take testosterone as a man, your body then stops making its own internal testosterone. So with melatonin, people typically find that they are taking already to start bigger doses than they should be taking. So even if you're only taking 3 milligrams, that's way more than your body makes on its own. And then people who start taking 3 milligrams often then end up taking 4, 5, 9. I've had people come up to me at trade shows and tell me they're taking 40 milligrams of melatonin a night.
Oh, wow.
Like, what? Don't do that. And the challenge with that is also because you're taking this like bigger dose than your body needs. One, your body's going to stop making on its own. Two, it's creating an environment where your signaling then needs to be bigger than it would otherwise normally be, because your body also is funny. Like if you spray perfume, a few minutes later you don't smell it anymore. It's because your sensors for that perfume, your body actually like down regulates the sensitivity of those sensors. Other people can smell it, but you can't smell it. So whenever you have anything in your body that's like way more than you need, your body stops responding to it the same way. And so here we are with this like one tool, natural tool for helping with sleep, which is melatonin, that people are taking. They're taking too much of it. Their body's essentially ignoring it. And now you're kind of breaking your natural sleep system, because melatonin is such an important part of your circadian rhythm, which isn't just about sleep. It's also about your body temperature regulation. It's about when your other hormones will peak and trough. So like, when does your cortisol go up? When does your growth hormone go up? All these things play together. So taking this step back and looking at the whole physiology of sleep, taking melatonin is something that's not in and of itself awful for you, especially if you do it a couple of times, like when you're jet lagged or whatever, but you are kind of throwing this wrench into your body's regular daily cycles. And when you start throwing wrenches in your regular daily cycles, there's downstream effects. There's effects on your metabolism. There's effects on your other hormone systems. There's effects on your mood, your brain health, your health and happiness. So that kind of brings us back to like the beginning of, well, okay, but if I'm not sleeping well and I don't want to take a sedative, which I agree also isn't the root, it also interferes with a lot of your body systems and is not great for you. It's like, well, what do you do? And so when I was trying to figure out how to help myself sleep better too, especially during COVID, when like anxiety's up here, routines are out the window, everything was a mess, right? It was, okay, what can I do to help my body do sleep better instead of trying to do it for me? Because whenever you try to do something for your body doesn't learn how to do it better, right? And so I went down this like deep rabbit hole of figuring out, okay, well, what does good sleep look like? And we can talk about what good sleep looks like. And then what does your brain and your body need to do good sleep better? And then I just started, taking anything that had decent literature behind it and doing things in combination and trying to come up with something that worked well for me. And once I had found something that worked well for me, then I shared it with my husband, obviously, and started giving it to some of my friends at the gym and that kind of stuff. And then eventually it became like, okay, let's make this into a product. Let's see if this will solve this problem for all these other people who are having trouble with this.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the specific ingredients that you ended up going with then and why.
Cool. Okay. So there's 4 ingredients in it. Magnesium, and that's probably like everybody's heard of it. It's so popular now. And I actually love that everybody's talking about magnesium and needing to take magnesium because it's a mineral that we don't get enough of in our diet that helps like 267 different chemical reactions in your body rely on magnesium. And a lot of them are ones that help you to counteract stimulation, help you to calm down and support your natural production of brain chemistry, serotonin and melatonin that help your brain to do sleep better. So magnesium, yes, definitely take it. If you were going to take just one thing on its own to help with sleep, magnesium would probably be the one. And there's probably a lot of people out there who's like, I am taking magnesium. I still have sleep problems. It's because it's not the only thing you need. The other things that are in it, there's 2 of them. There's L-theanine and GABA. And they both work actually along pathways in your brain that have to do with hyperstimulation. So I came to the realization, and probably a lot of you have come to the realization, that part of the reason you don't sleep well is because you're trying so hard to be on all day. And then you get to the end of the day and you're like, well, I did all this stuff so I could be like on and alert and focused and going. And then how do I pump the brakes? And we generally have a lot of trouble as a society with pumping the brakes. That's why we all feel like anxious and overwhelmed all the time. And our brain does have pathways to pump the brakes, but because we use so many stimulants, whether they're screens or sugar or caffeine or others, we kind of run out of our natural machinery, our natural chemical environment for helping us to slow down. And L-theanine and GABA are both helpful along the pathways that help your brain to wind down, to counteract stimulation, to counteract anxiety, and to actually help to create that like quiet environment that lends itself well to falling asleep, staying asleep, consolidating memories, making dreams, and doing all the important brain work that needs to happen while you're sleeping so you feel good when you wake up. And then the last ingredient that's in it is collagen. And that is probably the ingredient that most people are like, well, why is that in there? How does that help with sleep? Right? That's the weird one, because we've heard of collagen for other things, right? Hair, skin, and nails, looking beautiful, maybe helping with digestion, counteracting inflammation, right? Those are generally what we think about when we think of collagen. And it does all of those, which is also why it's in there. Especially if you're somebody who's active into your fitness, you're using your body a lot. That creates wear and tear among not just your muscle fibers, but your connective tissues too. So the tissue around your muscles, the tissues that connect your muscles to your bones, your joint tissue itself, and all of that needs to be rebuilt. And that happens, the peak of that rebuilding happens at nighttime. So having amino acids that are available to help that process while you're rebuilding is very helpful for maintaining your fitness, feeling good when you wake up in the morning, not being sore, avoiding injury. But the collagen itself also has a ton of glycine, and glycine is this really cool amino acid that helps lower your core body temperature at night, which helps you get into deep sleep, and also helps with increasing your feeling of alertness the next day and decreasing fatigue the next day. So when they've done studies with people and they've looked at their brain function at night, if they've taken 3 grams of glycine before bed, their brain function at night, it looks how it's supposed to look for good quality sleep. And they report feeling less tired the next day on the same amount of sleep. So when I started learning about that and learning about glycine, and collagen is like the best food source of glycine, and collagen has all these other benefits, I was like, oh man, I've been putting my collagen in my coffee. I should be taking it before bed.
Yeah.
And then I started looking around being like, there must be like sleep collagens out there. And then I was like, why are there not sleep collagens? Like, what's happening? And that was kind of the real moment when I was like, oh, maybe this could be a thing. And then, Thirdzy started shortly thereafter.
I love
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
Ask a question, Haley. It's your turn.
I was until you rudely interrupted me.
All the time. Every day I'm going to interrupt you.
We love you.
Thanks.
For Thirdzy, like, where do you see it going? Like, what is your mission for the next 5-10 years? Like, what's your plan?
Oh God, I don't know.
There is no plan. We've already established no one knows
there
what
is
we're
no
doing.
plan. It's a good question. Everybody always wants to know too, like, where's your vision? And so I'm going to say 2 things. One, we have a direction that we're aiming in, and the direction that we're aiming in is to continue helping more people sleep well. So we want to reach more people. We want more people to lean on using our product on a regular basis because it's healthy for them and it helps them maintain healthy sleep, and it helps your body do sleep better instead of doing sleep for you, which is really important. And the more people that we can help do that, the better. Obviously, also for us as a business, that creates, more security for me and my family. But outside of that, we stopped setting goals around reach and revenue a while ago, because we started realizing that all of your projections don't really matter. They never come to fruition anyways. And a lot of what we're focused on now is doing work that we enjoy doing and enjoying the process. So my goal with Thirdzy now is to continue to grow our team so that I'm only working on projects that I like working on, and my husband's only working on projects that he likes working on, and that we can hire really awesome people who work in jobs and roles that are well suited for them, and to deliver a really good product with a really good customer experience. And I have a firm belief that if we keep doing that, we will all enjoy running the company, and people will enjoy working with our company, buying from our company, and using our product. And if that means that, 5 years from now, we're doing $10 million in sales, that would be super. But I don't actually have an exact target anymore around those things. And
okay,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, this is interesting. I am going to interject because it makes me think of a story you shared with me. And you don't have to share all the details if you're not up for it, but I found it really encouraging. So I remember we were on a phone call, and I was feeling in the trenches with PhreXy because most of the trade shows I did for PhreXy, I was like, I sold 10 jackets. There was ones where I sold 2. There was ones where I sold 13 or 15, right? But in my mind, I was like, I'm packing 50 jackets and I'm selling, I don't know what I thought, 20 of them, 30 of them. But really having no idea, thinking about like, well, how do I project how much product should I ship to take with me versus like how much like are they actually going to buy, especially when it's like, these are my first 5 trade shows. I've never done this before. But you know, when you listen to all the motivational podcasts, it's just like execute, make the decision, do it. Well, guess what? You know, the people telling you that are paying out the money for the shipping for the products. But anyways, I remember having some that did well and other ones that more of a flop. And it was after a show that was a bit more of a flop. And I was like, oh man, this sucked. It just like, it cost me so much money to do this. And yes, there was like brand awareness increase, but also a lot of deflatedness in my own, I would sometimes, and I still do struggle with attaching too much of my own self-worth in my work and like taking it personally when it doesn't go well. That's a thing that I'm working on. But then you shared with me some of the experiences you had with Thirdzy, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing that happens to people. It's not just me.
Yeah. Was it the Daytona show?
Yeah, it was.
Oh man, I was so pumped. So this was before we moved away from Canada, and almost all of the kind of like trade shows and events and CrossFit comps and stuff that we had been to promote our product had been in Canada. And they've been like relatively small. And we had kind of hit or miss, like, always make some sales, but some of them were not good. Some of them were pretty decent. And I was also never really good at predicting what was going to be a good show for us and what wasn't. And we went to the East Coast Classic in Daytona, which is this CrossFit competition with like 1,500 athletes, tons of spectators. We were like, oh man, this is going to crush. It's going to be huge. And we shipped 250 bags of product. And I was like, yes, I hope we don't run out. We sold 17 bags of product. And in the whole weekend, like across 3 days, we sold like basically 5 bags a day. And I had flown down myself and 2 other team members, plus all of our tent, our whole setup, and shipped all the product. Oh my God. By the end of the weekend, it was like, it was almost like comical. Like I was just like,
but you're like, what is happening?
I was like, how is this so bad? And I mean, there was like a few things. Our booth placement stunk. The way that the vendor area was set up wasn't great. People didn't actually have to like walk by, so we weren't getting a lot of foot traffic. It was like, there was a lot of things, but that was a rough weekend. We lost many thousands of dollars that weekend. And it was, a bit of a wake up call around how, like, if you always expect to get like a good return on investment, like it's tough. You want to be optimistic. You want to think that things are going to work, but sometimes life just kicks you right in the teeth. It is like, I don't think so. Not for you.
That's cute. Oh, that's cute.
So what do you do after that? Like, what is your mindset? Because I think about like, protecting your own energy, reestablishing your focus, not getting deflated. Like I have days where I cannot help but show it on my face. Like I'll have a friend come up to me like, how's Phyrexy going? And one day I'll be like, oh, so great, and then like, a week later, I'm like, I don't know. It's basically done. And they're like,
my name and move.
Dude, I'm so moody. Probably depends on where I am in my cycle, right, Haley?
Totally, right? That particular show was also hard because I had my team with me. And you can't be the leader who's like down and out, right? You're trying to rally the troops to like, hey, like go talk to people, walk around. And so we shifted the focus that weekend by like the second day when it was going real bad. And, everybody knows it's going bad. So you also can't be the delusional leader who's like, this is awesome. I'm so happy about it, right? We shifted our focus to partnerships. So walking around, meeting people, what other brands are here that might be good partners for Thirdzy? Who are the like media folks that are covering the event that might be good connections for Thirdzy? I was like, okay, if we can walk out of here with like a couple of good connections, some new friends, maybe a new ambassador or 2, then that's going to be a win, because moving product here is not going to be a win for us this weekend. Like that's just not what's happening. And it taught us a lot. So the regroup from that was actually thinking a lot more about, everybody talks about product market fit. But in the world that we live in too, one thing that show really taught me was also product channel fit. So what are the marketing channels that you're leaning on, and do they make sense for your product? So I also looked around, and one of the vendors sold out the second day and packed up and went home because they had no more product left. And that vendor was selling cookies. And it made me really think about, like, at a trade show. So the vendors that were doing the best were the people selling food, generally junk food, and the people selling small accessories and apparel. Yes. And I thought about it. I'm like, that's how I consume. If I'm at a trade show, or I'm at an event, I'm at a CrossFit competition, I'm wandering around to kill time, I'm not going to buy a high education product. I'm not going to go and learn about a new supplement or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy a cookie. Maybe I'm going to buy a cute t-shirt. It's the easy yeses out of your wallet. Yes. And so I realized that maybe we hadn't been thoughtful enough about thinking about the buyer journey for our product, because trade shows actually don't make any sense for us unless we're doing pure brand awareness, which is wanting to associate ourselves with CrossFit and fitness. That's a good reason for us to show up at those events. Selling product is not a good reason for us to show up at those events. Yeah. Because that's not where people buy our kind of product. People go online, they do research, they look up magnesium, they're already looking for a different product, and then maybe they'll see our product and give us a chance, and then do a cost comparison, and then go see what Dr. Andrew Huberman says about our ingredients or whatever, right? Like, that's how people buy supplements now. They're not just unless it's something they already know, like, and trust, they're not buying it on a whim.
Yeah, it's so true. And when you said that too, I was thinking back to and when we were doing the trade show, and when we went looking around, what I bought was food. I bought food, and I didn't. And then I was looking, and I think Tess bought some sort of hat. People are just buying clothes,
random little items.
And I'm once you said that, it clicked to my brain. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so right. That's all people do.
Yeah, because Haley, I flew to Vancouver with the girls. I did a Vancouver trade show, and Haley met me there because she just lives not too far outside of Vancouver. Cool. And so we were kind of promoting the podcast and some of Haley's coaching business. And then I had jackets there as well. But it was to speak about the challenges you overcome every single time. The weather was horrendous. She couldn't even make it for the second day because she couldn't get out of snow in her driveway.
Oh, man.
The mirror that she let me borrow fell over and smashed all through our booth. I had to clean it up. I had to go find, thankfully, vendors let me borrow another one. I kid you not, guys. It's so, and when people are make sure you share all aspects of the journey, it's hard not to share all, literally we'd be sharing 1,000 challenges to overcome every day. And you don't want to sound like a complainer. And then also you don't want to be, sometimes you don't feel like being that vulnerable with the public, because you're I feel like we're just, surviving. And so I just find that it's fascinating. Anyway.
Did I tell you the other thing about that? I might have told you the other thing about that particular show, the Daytona show.
I don't remember.
Oh man. Okay. So we got all this product shipped, and our warehousing partners in general are really great, but I guess they had somebody who was new working that day or something. I don't know what happened, but they got an earful from me. When I called I actually know the owner, and I called him and I was like, what the hell, man? They looked like, we opened the shipments from our product, and they were in these really big boxes. And normally, our manufacturing partner packs them really neatly in sets of 12, in cases of 12. And they arrived in these huge boxes. And so what they had done, because they were trying to save us money on shipping, which we didn't ask them to do, was they had taken the bags out of their original cases and repacked them in this giant box. It looked like it was packed by raccoons. They were just thrown in there. And then because they were so crammed in, one of the bags had exploded. And so then every single bag was covered in sticky powder, because our product is a collagen-based powder beverage. And so we literally opened the box, and a cloud was oh my. So the four of us, our whole team, is in the girls' bathroom washing bags, all the sticky powder off 250 friggin' bags of product, some of which was like scrumpled up and like it was all, oh my God, I was furious.
This is
I can hear
life,
it coming
people.
out. It's just like, oh, trauma is coming back.
But this is real life, right? And it's like, it's those who persevere. I truly believe this. I'm like, when you're looking at people who you are looking at them, whether or not it's true, and you're like, they're further along their journey, or you're perceiving that they're more successful in some way or where you want to be, I can guarantee you all they've done is persevered through more crap for longer. That's it.
100%.
It's
things
true.
you never expect, right? Like, I didn't think I was going to have to tell you not to pack my bags like a raccoon. You know, like I didn't think that was going to be a specific instruction you needed, but now that's on the table. So from here on out, like that's not acceptable for my company. Yeah.
It's a babysitting job, I tell you.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Haley can only stay for a few more minutes. I can be on a little bit longer, but so before, unless you wanted to finish your thought, Justine, I just want to make sure, Haley, if you had anything else you want to ask before you I'm
actually going to pop off now, but Justine, it was absolutely amazing meeting you. I love you already. It's awesome.
It nice
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I appreciate you. We love Thirdzy and go buy Thirdzy.
Yeah, check it out. I have the package on our YouTube channel.
I got a different
subscribe
one,
to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe, and we'll link Thirdzy in the description box. And
awesome.
Have the best days of your entire lives.
You too. And we're not, bye Haley. So we're saying bye to Haley, but not completely wrapping up here because I have another follow-up question for you, which is, or sorry, did you want to finish your thought? I kind of cut you off.
No, the thought that I was going to add was, because you were saying it's like about persevering. Adam says he feels like 90% of his job is like grading grade 10 homework, like going back to people and be like, this isn't good enough. Fix this.
That's a thing. Definitely. Oh man. It's amazing the things that you don't think of until you have just lived through them. So I'm thinking back right to when you said, nobody knows what they're doing. That being said, most of it is if you're in a specific field and you have gained a certain level of experience, you really want to look at the people who have walked very closely to your path and been like, yeah, they probably do know just because they've lived through something the same or very similar, in which case those people, are at the point where they do know what they're doing more in a specific area. And I definitely think it's good to try to seek those people out and learn from them, but then also know that it's not going to be exact, right? They're not going to be able to give you every single detail on what you should do. You're going to have to make decisions. You're going to have to take the risks, the plunges, and then learn from them. And so what I wanted to know from you is, what is something like one belief or let's say one belief about rest and productivity that you've had to unlearn to grow your business and still stay well, like keep your own sleep hygiene well and keep your own fitness and mindset well.
Oh, that's
anything
a really great question. Yeah. Like grind culture in general, right? I do a lot less than I used to maintain my physical health. And I know that's going to sound crazy to you, but I used to do like way more meal prep. I used to do way longer workouts, more intense workouts than I do now. And I used to do more pushing.
Yeah.
And I thought that the way to get the results that I wanted was to just like push harder and do more. And at some point in the last, honestly, it was before I had my son, but probably after I got pregnant. And I just realized that I couldn't push more, that I wasn't going to accomplish more by pushing more. I had to push the right buttons and then just let everything else go. And the irony is that my productivity or like the results have gotten, if anything, better than when I was trying to do more. And, really around choosing your battles. And then the one place that I actually don't compromise on is sleeping. Like I turn everything off by 8 o'clock every night. and I sleep until I wake up in the morning, which is usually like between 6:30 and 7, and it's like when my son wakes me up. He's still small enough, and we've always co-slept, and he sleeps in the bed, so he still breastfeeds sometimes in the night, so it's not a complete through the night out. But there's like nothing worth going out of the house after 9 p.m. for for me anymore. And I used to think that if I optimized everything, that I could do it all and I could fit it all in. And I think there's seasons in your life for different things. If I was trying to like compete in physique, then my workouts would look different, but that's not the season that I'm in right now. If I was trying to be as strong as I've ever been, then I would be training differently than I am now, but that's not the season that I'm in. And there was, I think especially when I was like early in practice as a chiropractor, I was trying to do all of that. I was trying to be in the best shape. I was trying to be as strong as I possibly could. I was trying to run a really successful business. I was trying, and I wasn't as good at any of those things as I could have been as if I was focusing on specifically one of them and then letting everything else be secondary. Not everything else be zero, right?
Yes.
Like it's not like I've let my physical fitness go to zero. And I do a lot more slow than I used to. I do a lot more slow movement. I do a lot more walking. I do more actual relaxing. So I don't really drink anymore. My nights off are not to like go out and like party. I actually just like to relax. And we're almost 38 now. Sorry, am I allowed to say how old we are? I know our birthdays are both coming up. And like, yeah, I'm just like, I'm not 27. I did that. I know what that life is. I know what being 22 and partying and having, that life is. And it's not the season I'm in. I think of life a lot more in seasons now than I used to. And specifically around rest it is like such a gift to just be able to like turn off your brain, to actually fully rest, turn off your phone, stop thinking about it, have some quiet, have some time to yourself. What I used to think of as rest wasn't really rest. It was doing something different. It wasn't really resting.
Yeah. So if you needed that permission today to actually rest, to actually unplug and put your phone away for a day, just like, if it's not a work day, like let's take a Sunday. If you don't have to work on a Sunday and you're able to just leave your phone inside and you're going outside, do it. Yeah. Full permission.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Just, it's maybe hasn't changed that much about what I do, but it changes the story that I have around sleep specifically. And I know this is just coming back to kind of like sleep and what healthy sleep looks like. Is I used to think that healthy sleep was sleeping for 8 hours uninterrupted. That's it. Like go to bed, proper window, wake up. That was good sleep. And one of the big things that I've learned, the more that I've learned about sleep and the more that I've observed even my own sleep, is that like sleep is a process, just like working out is a process. And what is a good workout one day might not be a good workout the next day, right? Like some days you feel super duper strong and you can go into the gym and like hit a PR. And then you go back into the gym 3 days later and you're like, that PR is nowhere near what I can do today. And our sleep is also that dynamic. Depending on the night, depending on the day, depending on your nutrient levels, depending on whether you've strength trained or cardio trained, depending on where you are in your cycle, if you're a woman, your sleep needs change and the way your body sleep changes. And so having an expectation that every single night is going to look the same, and if it doesn't, that there's something wrong with you, is not how we should be approaching sleep. Some days you're going to feel great off of 8 hours. Some days you're going to need 9.5. Some days you're going to have like 3 times that you woke up, but you went back to sleep and you woke up and you still feel good. So I think being more amazed by and curious about what good sleep looks like instead of trying to pigeonhole it into one thing. And if that's not happening for you, being frustrated or upset by it is also really important when it comes to managing that part of your life.
Yeah, that is huge. That's such a good distinction. It's a really good shift in mindset and the way that you think about it and the stories that you're telling yourself, and then how that directs your behavior after that. I have absolutely loved this. We have to wrap up for the day because I have another meeting at 10, but I mean, we could just keep going. I love this. We need to do it again sometime. And make sure you
100%.
guys check out Dr. Justine on Instagram, as well as Thirdzy and Thirdzy.com, right?
Yes.
Thirdzy.com. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and leave us a rating or review. Come on, guys. We want to hear your comments. Let us know what topics you're loving, which ones you're not loving so much. And in the meantime, be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.